Um, so, yeah, this is a do nothing project. Basically, we hang out together, our community from all over the place, from the US and Canada and Europe. And I'll do a little quick intro about something I'm interested in right now or some dimension of practice. And then we do an actual guided practice. And then afterwards is an opportunity. If you have a question on the side there, you want to, put it down, you can. I could try to answer. And or I have a few that people have been emailing stuff in, so I have a list and I kind of try to go through them and answer some of those. So we'll do that. But in terms of what I was thinking of talking about a little bit tonight, just quickly, is, I think a lot about the nature of mental health and what is the nature of mental health and what is the fundamental skills that are going to be most helpful for us as human beings. Like, what is the basics? What is the nature of mental health? And there's lots of qualities. There's different books that come out about different things. Right now, grit is really popular. This idea of perseverance, it's true. It's a really important quality. But different qualities become fashionable at different times. Autonomy, creativity, ability to problem solve. There's just so many different kinds of skills that we can talk about, different qualities or attributes that you might want in a human being that are helpful. But my friend John has this metaphor of like upstream and downstream. If you think of what's upstream, there's lots of qualities, but there's sort of like a fountainhead in my mind, the headwaters of where all mental health qualities begin. And they emerge from 2 or 3 core qualities, 2 or 3 core trainings, I think. And then all of those other ones are secondary characteristics of those core trainings. They're more downstream of that, these more upstream trainings. And I talk about these all the time, but I'm always think about how to articulate them in a different way. I think those core trainings are the training of concentration, the training of clarity, and the training of equanimity. And these are more than just attributes. These are like fundamental existential settings. They're like the 3 settings of consciousness, basically, the 3 settings of existence. Like, most of the time we're existing in a concentration, in a building way. Concentration is about building. It's about creating habits. It's about developing. So a loving kindness practice, when you're practicing being more loving, you're developing. That's what you're building. It's a concentration practice in a sense. Concentration practice also builds concentration. It builds focus. It builds all kinds of things. So most of the time we're in the setting of doing and building. So that's setting 1, the setting of of building. But there's another setting, which is the setting. If that's the setting of construction, there's a setting of deconstruction, and it's linked to the construction, because every time you're building more of one thing, you're kind of, there's less of something else happening. So you're always building something up at the expense of something else. So this is another way of saying we're constantly changing and developing and learning. And there are actual practices that are about the deconstruction, that are about unlearning habits, in a sense, that are about like saying, oh shit, this habit sucks. I don't really want more of this. I'm going to try to deliberately not feed this habit. So that's really that's the skill of clarity. It's really the skill of mindfulness, mindfulness is not neutral. Mindfulness has an ethic built into it. Mindfulness says hey, I'm looking and seeing what's going on, but there are certain things I'm seeing that I want to deliberately reinforce, and there are certain things I'm seeing that I don't want to reinforce. And that's what happens in a mindfulness practice. So you got the setting of constructing, of becoming. You have this setting of deconstructing, of unbecoming. But then there's a third setting, which is the setting of, well, to use the construction metaphor, of going and taking a coffee break. It's the setting of just being, of neither building any habit. I mean, you're technically building a habit of learning how to just be, the habit of equanimity, but you're just accepting your life as it is right now. You're not trying to improve yourself. You're not trying to have less of this and more of that. You're just chilling and accepting that this is where you're at. And that's definitely a big focus, obviously, on the Do Nothing podcast. I keep calling it a podcast. It's not a podcast, whatever this thing is, the live stream. So with that in mind, I want to explore one particular flavor of Do Nothing, one flavor of the just being setting. And that is something called practice enlightenment, which I really love this idea. I'm not sure if I've talked about this before. Practice enlightenment is an idea that comes from Dogen, who is the founder of Soto Zen. Soto Zen was the form of Zen that emerged in response to the really strivey, gotta get somewhere Rinzai Zen, where all these dudes were like just hammering it out, trying to get enlightened and working their ass off and pouring sweat. And it was like, that was how they did it back in the day, or at least some groups did it. And Soto Zen was like, Dogen was like, this seems like a lot of work. And it just seems like all this doing is counterproductive to this core practice of being. And he basically had a practice that he called practice enlightenment, which is just like, why don't you just pretend you're already there? Instead of trying to get somewhere, just sit and know that you already have the inherent perfection of your life all around you in some way. And this is just a really helpful antidote to always go, change, activate, all of which is important. But one of the paradoxes of practice is the more we learn to chill and kick back, then the more effective we can be when we do need to bear down and do need to act. So that's what I want to explore today. It's going to be similar. All these practices I do are often similar around a kind of real lack of striviness, and I'll guide it in that way. But I'm going to come around to just touching on this idea of nowhere to go, nothing to do. What if you just sat down now and practice being enlightened? Because what is enlightenment? One of the ways of talking about what enlightenment is it's the practice of it's the reality of being completely with your life as you are and having no problem with it, being open and not suffering, just like experiencing life as it is. So nowhere to go, nowhere to be, as my buddy Henry's saying here. So do you want to meditate with us, sweetie? Okay, awesome. That's my wife, Sarah. So let's do this practice. I'm going to ring a bell, and it's 8:08 right now. This practice is going to be 25 minutes or so. And you guys are going to do it, and you're going to practice existing, and it's going to be awesome. And then I'll answer some questions or whatever, and we'll hang out a little more. Let's do it. Okay, so as always with any practice we do here, it's mostly about the community, about holding space for everyone to do their own practices. So if you've got your own go-to that you like to do, then you're welcome to do that. Everything I offer is just sort of a pointing out instruction. It's an invitation. But if you're going to do this practice enlightenment situation, then you can start with your eyes either open, looking at the ground in front of you, or closed. I kind of alternate between the two. And you might want to start with a few deep breaths, just to signal to your body that you're shifting into this different mode. So as you breathe in, it's kind of like the upward motion, stretching up the spine a little bit. And then the out breath is the downward motion. That's sort of the softening and relaxing. So just softening the worry lines, the cheeks and the jaws, the shoulders and the hands. Really, as you breathe out, land on your chair or on your cushion to really arrive, feeling your feet on the ground, your seat on the ground. The very first training, for me, because God knows I need so much work on this, it's the training of equanimity, just existing. So this is the essence of practice enlightenment. So what that means is, notice if you're uptight about something or you're braced in any way, and just kind of soften and let go of that. Try to find a state of sort of relaxation in the body, but just open to all the sounds around you. So there might be a sound of traffic like there is where I am here. You can hear the cars passing outside, or sounds from another room, or But you're going to allow all that to be here. You're not trying to control reality right now. And ditto with whatever you brought with you. Maybe you're feeling agitated, or you're relaxed, or you got lots of thoughts, or very few. It's all good. What would it be like to practice being completely good with this exact configuration right now? What if this exact configuration were the exact configuration of your own perfection? You didn't have to change anything or become anything. Starting with that, you're just practicing your own already there-ness. So that's the setup. And you can stay right there if you like. But you always have the option of using an anchor if it just kind of helps you stay there. Paying attention to the feeling of the breath, be counting the breaths. You say in when you breathe in, help you stay on it. Or maybe staying with the feeling of the warmth in the hands, or the feet on the ground, or sounds. The anchor is just an option, but you may not need it. You may be fine just existing. But you can also exist with the lightest possible anchor, just sort of gently paying attention to the breath and enjoying it, whatever your anchor is. So that's an option too. Keeping it simple. I'll try this for a little while. Good. So you're just practicing existing. Everyone can do it because everyone exists. Practicing existing with no agenda, appreciating this opportunity for a break, either lightly with some object, appreciating it, or just existing, knowing that there's nowhere to go, even pretending that you're exactly where you want to be. And you're allowed to fake it till you make it. Good. We're just practicing existing right now, practicing being open, kind of relaxed in the body, no agenda. And it could be as you're doing this that you start to get involved in some subtle struggle, kind of fighting with something or worrying about something, struggling with sleepiness or boredom or agitation. It's okay. If that happens, just sort of notice, oh yeah, got myself in a little struggle there. What part of the struggle can I let go of? What if there was no struggle? What if the sleepiness, the agitation, the thoughts, they're all welcome, just not feeding them? What if underneath anything there was something, a primordial ordering principle that was more fundamental, more free? That's what all the contemplative traditions say. And it's there all the time. That you are it. Good. Just sinking in, sort of like you're marinating in this exact moment, this exact configuration of your life, letting it all be there. Maybe lightly following or staying with some anchor, or in a more open practice. Both are fine. Just appreciating, though, this opportunity to take a break, just to really rest. Good. It's like relaxed, but not asleep. Aware, but not tense. Just practicing your own enlightenment. Which happens to be everyone else's as well, in a paradoxical, mystical way. So let's actually do our last few minutes here. We'll do a nurture positive practice that kind of has that theme. We've done a version of this before. I think is a friend of mine taught me this. It's receiving, gathering, and then radiating. Sort of like, so if you visualize this Indra's net, they call it, this like vast kind of spider web radiating out from you. And that's the whole network of everybody you know in your current life, but also all your ancestors, people came before you, the whole web of a life. So we picture ourselves in this big network. And we're all connected. We're all part of a single network. And as you breathe in, it's like you're breathing in. You say, thank you. Thank you. And you breathe in. It's like you're breathing in all this connection, this connectivity to that network. You're breathing in your connection to all your friends, to the nature around you, to people in your life. It's like you're breathing in, sort of you're gathering it in. And you could gather into your body, into your heart. It's like, thank you. And then you breathe out is like the sending your care back through that network, sending out your gratitude, your care, your love. So that's the move of this practice. It's really simple. It's where you're using your imagination. So you're using a visualization of this web. As you breathe in, just randomly, whatever comes into your mind's eye, people you're grateful for, family members, friends, little kids, animals, breathing in your thanks. Thank you. Stoking the heart with that warmth, and then you're breathing out your care. Maybe you say, I love you, whatever feels good for you, but you're sending out your care along through that network. So gratitude, both sides of gratitude and care. Breathing in your thanks, and you can extend your network. Maybe you're thinking back historically now, thinking about people who've mentored you, teachers, people who supported you in the past. Are here. You're here because they were there. You're the way they are because they were the way they were. Breathing in your thanks. Breathing out your care. And these are real people, real character in their faces, lived real lives, had real struggles. Your ancestors now. Parents, and their parents and their parents. Breathing in your connection to them, your thanks. Whole family, through the lineage, the human family, and then breathing out your care, sending it back down through those into the past, but also into future generations. This is an ambitious meditation here. Breathing in your thanks, breathing out your care. And this is all part of recognizing one network, one reality, one interconnected field. Codependency, they talk about it, or codependent arising in Buddhism. It's like everything depends on everything else. The healthy codependency. Breathing in your thanks. Breathing out your care. One network, one life, one love. Nice. We'll ring the bell. Cool. I have too many lights on in here. Okay, that was the meditation. So we usually take a few minutes afterwards for both questions on the side, or if people have written in stuff, and there were a few. I've got a pile of them people have written in that I haven't really gotten to yet. Okay, so I'm just going to answer this one question here. This is from Scott, who basically, his question's about, should you just focus on one meditation, or is it okay to be jumping around? Which is an amazing question, especially a good one to ask me on account of my ADD. So yeah, Scott's using the 10% Happier app, and he's doing lots of different meditations. He's done my course, and he says, sometimes with the guided meditations, I feel like I'm jumping around a lot day to day. Should I limit the number of meditations I use and focus on one? And then the second question is, I'm interested in learning more about the Buddhist ties to meditation. Any recommendations on books to read? Okay. Well, I'll start with the first one. So this is a great question. And I guess there's different ways to answer it. What I would say is it is important to have a go-to practice. For me, because I'm super ADD, I explore a lot of practices, but I'm always trying to work on concentration, clarity, and equanimity. So I thread those skills through the different practices. So that becomes, in a way, my continuity. But you definitely want to build the habit of more concentration, the habit of more openness, the habit of more clarity. So I think it's good to do a kind of initial period where you're exploring quite a bit. And I think it's good to kind of have a go-to main practice where you're like this. In a way, this do nothing project has a go-to practice. We have different variations of it, but there's always this theme of like starting out with just being cool with your own existence, the equanimity, and then maybe having an anchor to focus on, or maybe staying in open awareness. And that's kind of a pretty steady, like one of those two options, a pretty steady go-to. And I'm guessing most people usually have a particular anchor they work with. But we can jump around a little bit knowing that we're always training up the skills. The problem with only having one go-to is you can create your own samskaras around it. You can create weird habit patterns around only having one meditation, around thinking this is the right one, around not learning how to apply the skills in other domains. So it's good to kind of check in with the teacher once in a while and see if, how it's going. But in general, I would say that's my answer. There's something really interesting that happens if you just choose one technique and completely dedicate yourself to exactly this for a few months. You really start to get a feel for it in this deeper way. So I would recommend at some point doing that. And so the other part of the question was about Buddhist books to meditation, Buddhist ties to meditation. I mean, there's so many. Most of them, I don't really have a preference for one. I think, I like kind of the some popular secular mindfulness type books, like Sharon Salzberg's books. She's good, or Joseph Goldstein, or what's his name, Jack Kornfield, all those guys. Then you can go deeper into some of the original texts, like you can read The Progress of Insight, short little book, really cool about deep mindfulness practice. If you want to read a contemporary take on the path of concentration, Kula Das's book, The Mind Illuminated, is good. If you want to read more classic Buddhist-y books, there's so many. All those Tibetan books. I mean, I have a list actually of books, my favorite books about meditation and mystical path. It's like a massive long list. If anyone's interested in it, I'll probably put it up on my website, but I'll email it to them. So that's what I would say about that.
Making Buddhist Modernism.
Oh, Making a Buddhist Modernism is a great book about if you want to understand Buddhist practice. That's actually a great book. It's not a how-to practice book. It's really trying to show you that there's no such thing as Buddhism as a solitary entity, that Buddhist modernism, what we think of as Buddhism, is basically a Western construction. So you can get academic about it too. And then I see some people putting some titles in on the side here, like Gabe's got Joy of Living. Yeah, actually, he's great. Mingyur Rinpoche is an awesome teacher. So that was my response to that. Let's see. Breathing is a discipline. That's true. Yeah. So, okay, questions. Oh, Jeffrey McParland. What do you mean you are it? I mean, that's the big mystical thing. It's kind of hard to explain that. It's more like, I guess the easy way to say it is meditation kind of builds out of and comes to an understanding that there's really one thing going on and you're the thing going on. That reality is multifaceted, but you're the kind of local expression of that. And you kind of start to feel more and more that's true, not in a conceited way, in a super humble way. And it's sort of your own awareness. The locus of your awareness isn't so filled with all the stuff that you think is unique to you and your personality. It's just sort of this awareness. And it's probably the same awareness everyone has. And that's kind of what it's pointing to. Different people talk about it in different ways. And I wouldn't really want to say more than that because that's just how I experience things. The modest end of it, not the, I'm pretty, like beginner style. Okay, so then let's see. There's another question someone sent in. Zillions. Meditating alone versus in community. This is a fellow named Richard. And just saying that new to meditation, and he's got a bit of an anxiety issue. But he'd really like to be active in a local meditation community, but the social anxiety makes it a challenge. It sets him back. Totally understandable. So he's wondering if he should keep meditating on his own or jump into the exposure of community practice despite his apprehension. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of practicing in community. And I know it's always that part at the beginning where it's really awkward. But I mean, you cannot get, in theory, a more perfect community situation than in a meditation community, because they're all practicing being open and being judgmental. And it's a place that attracts a lot of different kinds of people. And so, I mean, a good meditation community, a good Sangha, and you got to kind of feel them out, generally has a pretty warm and inclusive vibe. And, and you can kind of just dip your feet in and take it one step at a time. There's nothing wrong with meditating alone or just doing it like you're doing right now through the virtual community. But there is something special about the in-person thing. And I think it also happens a bit with the virtual thing. You can ride on people's energy a bit. Like you kind of ride on people's commitment. The vibe is there's something about that is real. And then plus it's a teaching and kind of learning how to be more honest about who you are and where you're at and not trying to be where anything you're not. It's easy to get on your own and start to get confused about ideals or thinking you need to be a certain way. A community can really keep you real. So a few reasons about why I think practicing community is good. I can talk more about this because this is a big subject and it's a beautiful subject. So we've got some other people with some book options. Yep, Mastering the Core Teachings of the Buddha, Dan Ingram, friend of mine. Very good book, very smart. Definitely an option, very hardcore. I mean, you kind of got to be, there's a bit of a caveat with that book. You can sometimes think that book is going to be what it's about, but it's just one way in, a very cool way in that Daniel is sort of really a master of, but know that there are other ways in. And okay, so one other question here. Okay, something about the effects of mindfulness practice on stress, anxiety. Any studies or books to look into? Email me that, Gabe. I don't know anything offhand, but I'll see. I mean, there's some classic studies on meditation and anxiety, meditation and depression. It's there's so many studies done on mindfulness, but a lot of them aren't that good. And they need to be kind of done again. But a lot of the most robust findings tend to be around, it does seem to have a mediating effect on anxiety and depression, a few things. You know what? I think that's cool. Unless there's anything else big, that was a bunch of questions and that I answered. And we can do this next week. Oh, Gabe's asking me. Gabe, just send an email to if you go to my website, there's a contact form. That goes right to my email. So, all right, guys. Really nice to be meditating with you. This weekend, I'm teaching a retreat at Omega, which is cool. There's like 100 people signed up. So it's going to be my first American teaching and doing that. And then Sunday night, I'll probably do a meditation from my friend Teresa's place in Massachusetts or somewhere in New York. So good to hang out with you guys. Take it easy.